In the royal garden filled with blooming flowers, the young princess often came to breathe the fresh air and enjoy the peace. One morning, as she strolled among the blossoms, a little sparrow landed right before her. Its dark eyes sparkled with curiosity, while the princess gently bent down, offering a tender smile. In that moment, it felt as if an invisible thread tied the heart of the girl to the tiny creature. It was no longer mere curiosity. It was the beginning of a magical friendship she had never imagined before. After her first encounter with the little sparrow, the princess felt her heart filled with a newfound joy. The next morning, she once again walked into the vast garden where a winding path stretched through clusters of red and golden blossoms. Each step brushed against petals swaying in the breeze, as if the whole garden was smiling in greeting. Deep in her mind, she still remembered those tiny, bright eyes and secretly wished she might meet her new friend again. Along the bright flower path, the princess suddenly heard a faint chirp. She looked around and found the little sparrow trembling beneath a flower bush. One of its wings was wrapped clumsily with a leaf. It must have been hurt. The princess's heart ached. She knelt down and gently placed millet seeds in her palm, offering them to the bird. The sparrow lifted its round eyes, filled with gratitude, and carefully pecked each tiny seed. In the golden sunlight, the image of the princess and the little sparrow seemed to form an unspoken promise of everlasting friendship. But the joy of the blooming garden did not last. Soon after, the entire kingdom was struck by a terrible drought. The ground cracked open, streams ran dry, and the fields withered. Worry spread among the people, their sighs echoing through every home. Even the radiant flowers in the royal garden began to droop, losing their vitality. The princess watched this scene with a heavy heart. She wondered if she and her little sparrow friend could do anything to save their land from despair. Day by day, the scorching sun only worsened the hardship. Villagers gathered around cracked fields, their faces etched with worry. Some held their heads in despair, some prayed silently. An old man leaned on his cane with a heavy sigh, and mothers covered their faces in quiet sorrow. Grief blanketed the land, as if hope itself was drying away. When the princess saw their suffering, her heart ached deeply. She knew she could not remain still, for the happiness of her people was also her own. In the royal palace, the king spent sleepless nights, burdened with worry. On his table lay maps of parched fields and rivers drawn dry. Advisors and villagers came one after another, pleading for a solution. Yet, despite summoning many wise men, none could bring back the water. The king rested his hand on his forehead, his eyes heavy with sorrow. He felt powerless as he watched his people grow weaker day by day, while he himself could do nothing to save them. A mournful silence weighed over the entire court. While the king remained troubled, the princess turned to her tiny friend. She cradled the sparrow gently in her hands, feeling its warmth and the faint tremble of its wings. As if by magic, the bird sang a soft melody, and in the breeze she seemed to hear words whispered. Believe in the power of kindness. Deep within the ancient forest lies a magical spring that never runs dry. The princess's eyes lit up with hope. She knew this was the path she must take to save her people. Hearing the promise from her tiny friend, the princess resolved to set out in search of the magical spring. But before she could take a step, the sparrow spread its wings and soared into the stormy sky. Dark clouds swirled, winds howled, and heavy rain poured down, yet the little bird pressed on without fear. It flew ahead, as if to guide the way, carrying with it the belief that light always follows the storm. The princess watched, her heart filled with determination. No matter how difficult the journey, she and her friend would face it together. As she ventured into the ancient forest, the princess came across a poor little girl in tattered clothes, sitting sadly beside an injured butterfly. The child gently held its delicate wings, her eyes filled with sorrow. The princess watched quietly, her heart swelling with compassion. Though she had nothing, the girl still offered her kindness to the fragile creature. At that moment, the The princess realized that compassion itself was the guiding light on her journey, and that anyone, even the poorest, could play a part in preserving life. The sparrow led the princess through the dense forest and stopped at the mouth of a dark cave. She hesitated, but then heard the bird's song echoing in the shadows, urging her forward. As she ventured deeper, she saw a radiant glow at the far end, sparkling like 1,000 gathered stars. In the midst of the gloom, that light carried a wondrous warmth, a promise that miracles truly existed. The princess knew she was drawing closer to the secret of the magical spring. Stepping through the radiant glow, the princess was overwhelmed by the sight of a shimmering underground spring. Clear waters trickled gently between the rocky walls, casting sparkling reflections upon the cavern. From the stream came a cooling breath that seemed to chase away all the dryness beyond. She knelt down and touched the surface. A refreshing sensation spread through her hand, as though she were holding a miracle itself. She knew at once this was the source of life that could save her kingdom. The little sparrow immediately fluttered down to the spring, eager for the refreshing waters. It dipped its beak into the stream, sending ripples across the surface like joyous light. The princess watched, her heart overflowing with happiness. The sparrow, who had borne so many wounds on their journey, was now being healed by the magical spring. In that moment, she was certain the water would not only revive her tiny friend, but was a gift of nature itself to save the entire kingdom. As the princess admired the flowing waters, the sparrow chirped excitedly and led her to another corner of the cavern. There, an ancient wooden chest stood ajar, filled with gleaming golden coins. The sparrow tilted its head, its bright eyes seeming to say, "This is not just treasure, but a reward for courage and kindness." The princess smiled softly, yet she knew that gold mattered far less than the spring's waters. What she needed to bring back to her people was life itself, not riches. When the princess brought back the magical waters, the barren fields slowly revived. Streams were shared among the villages, flowing into the farmlands, where tender shoots sprang up in lush green. Before long, golden rice swayed heavily with grain, and people everywhere harvested with joy. Laughter and song echoed across the fields, replacing the sorrowful sighs of the past. Watching her people smile again, the princess knew that every hardship she had endured was worth it. On the day the princess returned, the whole village celebrated. People rushed out to welcome her, cheering and dancing, their faces glowing with joy. In the princess's hand, the little sparrow perched quietly, chirping as if recounting their wondrous journey. The villagers gazed at her with deep gratitude, for it was her courage and kindness that had brought life back to the kingdom. Amid the jubilant cheers, the princess smiled warmly, feeling more connected than ever to her land and her people. In the palace, the king was overjoyed to see his kingdom restored. Seated upon his throne, he welcomed the little sparrow with deep gratitude. Before, the bird lay a small chest filled with gold, offered as a token of thanks. Yet the sparrow only tilted its head, chirping as if to say that it sought not riches, but peace and abundance for all. The king laughed kindly, realizing that the greatest treasure often lies not in jewels, but in compassion and true friendship. After many long and trying days, the princess once again strolled along the familiar path with the sparrow. The sky was clear and blue, the breeze whispered through the trees, and everything felt as peaceful as in the beginning. The princess smiled at her tiny friend, her heart brimming with gratitude, for their journey had taught her that true strength lies not in power, but in kindness and courage. The sparrow tilted its head as if in agreement. Between them, the bond of friendship had become an everlasting gift. In the blooming garden, the princess held the sparrow gently on her hand, her smile full of warmth. From their very first meeting to all the trials they had faced together, they had created a tale of wonder. Now, the kingdom thrived with life. The people lived in abundance, and the princess had become a symbol of kindness. The sparrow sang a clear, sweet song, like a blessing for the days to come. Its melody echoed through the garden, reminding all that wherever love is sown, happiness will always blossom.